guys. It's me, Sylvia. You guys are up in here. Y'all ain't no joke. I'm sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late. But we got some good stuff tonight. Okay, Dottie says she's going over her notes right now. So she's going to be in a few seconds. She's going over her notes. Let me just send her the link. She is going over her notes. I'm going to play a clipping before she gets in. I'm going to play a clipping, guys. Hopefully you guys will see what's going on. I'm going to play a clipping first. Just to give y'all a little reminder of something that happens a couple of times. So hold on a second. I'm going to send this to myself. Hold on a second. I thought I sent it to myself. I guess I did not. Hold on a second. Let me send it to myself. Just bear with me a second, guys. Oh my God. Hold up. Sorry. I have to send something to myself. All right, here we go. I got it. I had to send it to myself. Okay, here we go. Oh, there we go. All right, let me open this up. And I'm going to play this for you guys. How's everybody doing this evening? I hope everybody's doing well. All right, here we go. Hey, Trina. We have 212 in this chat. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. All right, I'm going to play this link here as a reminder for you guys. Hold on for a second. It's going to play. Come on now. Can you play, please? It's playing around with me here. Oh, come on. I'm having a hard time playing with this one here. It's acting up. Why is it acting up? Let me go find the other way of getting it. Hold on a second, guys. I do not own the rights to this that's playing. You see how it's. Okay, shout out to Tea Time. Shout out to Tea Time on this live right here. Okay, why is it acting like this, y'all? I think they're trying to stop it from playing. Lord have mercy. Yeah, seriously, y'all. I think they're trying to stop it.
And R. Kelly. No.
Hold on a second. I think they're trying to stop it from playing. Let me stop it right here. Because I played it earlier. Now all of a sudden it's trying to stop that from playing, guys. Can you believe that? Hold on. They're trying to stop us from playing this. Shout out to Tea Time for this video. Shout out to Tea Time for her video.
Now, the only faith that I could find that's publicly connected to R. Kelly is Faith Rogers. And for those of you who do not know who she is another one of R. Kelly's alleged victims. She claims that R. Kelly abused her and purposely infected her with herpes. So, in this recording that you are about to hear, you are going to continuously hear Tim Savage say that Faith is lying. Not only does he claim that she's lying, he claims to have video and audio showing that she's lying.
That bitch lying. I can let you listen to 4 hours of motherfucking tape. That bitch mama told her to go back and get some more motherfucking proof. I got that shit on motherfucking video and audio. I just trying to hold that shit because my daughter's in a situation. I got that bitch saying that on goddamn tape, video and audio. You can see her back.
All right. I just want to get it prepped up. I wanted to get it prepped up, y'all. Yeah. Yes, Joycelyn. Yeah, Joyce. Oh, I didn't even see Dottie in the message. Sorry, Dottie. Oops, my bad. I didn't even see her in the, she put in the message. I don't see her. I see that. Okay, there she go. Hey, sorry.
Hey, you good? I'm like texting you and everything.
I didn't have my phone in front of me. My bad.
No, that's what I figured. I figured that.
You know, I ran down here because our time fly by so quickly. I mean, I did not know time was gonna rush by so fast.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Can y'all give me literally 2 seconds? I mean, no, not 2 seconds. 30 seconds. Give me 1 second.
Okay. All right, guys, give it 30 seconds. Wow, y'all. This is some craziness. There's nothing concrete in this case at all. Everything's weird. Drink your water. Drink your water.
Hey, Sylvia, do they got any questions from yesterday before I start?
Guys, do y'all have any question from yesterday before she start? Any question? Hearsay. Hey, Rita. Hey, guys. Do you have any question before she starts? I hope everybody that requested their transcript got them, because I was sending them out left and right this afternoon. I was sending them out left and right. I hope you got it. Daddy, did you get yours? Did you get your transcripts?
I did not.
Oh, okay. My bad. I gotta send it.
Okay, Sylvia, you want to wait till some more people come in the chat or what?
Well, you got 338 people in here. If they miss it,
All
it'll
right.
go.
Okay.
You can go ahead on because if they miss it, they'll have to play replay.
Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. So today started. Faith was still on the stand. We actually started a little late today. Normally it starts at 9:30. Court started at 9:50 today. Um, Faith was still on the stand. Prosecution was still questioning her, and they just basically did a recap of all the bullet points they hit on yesterday. So the prosecution said you testified about a trip to LA. Diana made the arrangements. Prior to that trip, you went to Dallas, and they asked that trip was a trip that Rob told you about. Or Rob told you to take, and no, at that trip, that's where Rob told her about the other girls and actually introduced her to Joy. She testified about being in the sprinter with Joy. The prosecution asked, did you observe Joy and Rob's interactions? She said yes. She described it as very odd. Anything he wanted, she was basically there to admit. Um, she said she described like if he would laugh, she would laugh harder. If he lit his cigar, she was standing right there to light the cigar. If he wanted to listen to music, she played all his music, turned it up, and she said it was just really weird to her seeing them interact. They asked her, they said, you testified that you and Joy were alone on the sprinter and you needed to use the restroom. They asked her, what did Joy tell you? She said, Joy told me that I had to ask. And then she said, again, she tried to open the door. Joy told her that the door was broken and that she had to ask. She testified. That she had to keep them notified about her whereabouts. And then they asked her why. Again, she said because those were his rules. They went back to asking her about the bathroom, and she said, who did you have to contact? And she said she had to contact Diana because Diana was R. Kelly's assistant. They asked her, did you feel that you could just leave? She said no, because she had to wait for someone to open the door. They asked her, they were asking her when Diana had actually took her to the bathroom. They said, well, why are you using the bathroom? Was Diana using the bathroom? And she said no. But she stood in the bathroom. She opened and closed the stall door. When they came out, she stood there while they washed their hands, and then she escorted them back to the bus. She testified yesterday that Rob came into the studio and left really quickly. And they say, and you sat in that room for hours, correct? And that particular studio, I believe, was in LA. And then they just basically started showing text messages again. So Faith actually supplied them with all of her text messages. She sent the screenshots and everything of all of her text messages. I think they said it was like 80 pages worth in the beginning. She did some screen recording in New York while she was in the presence of agents. So that's how they retrieved most of those. They was just basically trying to say that the text messages wasn't altered by any means. And then they asked her, why did you have to ask Diana to leave the room? And then she stated again, because that was his rules. And according to R. Kelly, you need to get permission. When Rob came back into the room studio, she was saying that had she had stood up and greeted him, so that interaction they had where he ran in the room, she said he was almost like jogging in, came in and said, hey, and then she said, hey, and then he left. She was there saying that had she had got up, hey y'all, had she had got up and greeted him the proper way, he would have had came back to the room sooner than what he did, because she was left in that room, she said again, for hours. This is Faith that's still on the stand. let me see. Shortly after that, she says he came into the room. He sat in the chair and he told her to take her clothes off and walk back and forth. She told him she was on her period. However, she said she wasn't. And he asked her, so why did you come? And then she told him, well, if I'm on my period, I can't see you. And then he told her, then just take off your pants. And she took off her pants and she walked for him. And she said, then they went into like I guess it was like an adjacent room. The government interrupts and then just shows her a picture of the studio. So basically the picture of the studio, it almost looks like a half size of a gym, an indoor gym. And inside of there, they had a piano, and then they have they have a door, and then there's a long line of windows. So inside of there is where they went into. So that's the actual recording studio. She was left outside where the piano was, but according to her, in the picture, it's a lot less furnished than what it was when she was there. She says, so after walking back and forth about 3 times, she began to feel uncomfortable. She described the size of the room after this. Didn't write all of that down. Basically just told y'all. And she says when she walked into that studio room, when she looked to her side where he was sitting, there was a gun. It was a gun pretty much on the counter. She called that room the smaller room, very small. She hesitated for a minute, and then she said, once she seen the gun, she hesitated, and then he basically told her, don't look at it. So then she said she didn't, and then he told her to come here, or go stand. He told her to go stand in a particular part of the room and stand there. He sat down in the chair, and at this point, she said she was just standing there in her bodysuit, and basically, she said he pulled out an iPad and told her to pose. She took a bunch of pictures. He told her how to take the pictures, and then he told her, oh, you're not looking sexy enough. So then he asked her how many males have seen you naked. And she said she basically just threw out a number. And he asked her how many male friends do you have? And she said, well, she had a lot of friends, male and female. So, and then she said he mentioned something about him and her father basically have the same gifts, and it's a spiritual gift. So I don't know if he was saying that to tell her that he knew she was lying or something to that effect. So then at that point, he then proceeded to pull out his penis. So when he did that, he told her to get on her knees and to suck his, And so she said she did. She dropped to her knees. He grabbed the back of her neck, and then he basically pushed her mouth to the tip of his penis. She said he was still sitting in the same place, not too far from where the gun was. The entire time he had his hand on the back of her, while her mouth was on his penis, he had his hand on the back of her neck. And then a prosecution asked, did it stay there like that? She said yes. And then the prosecution asked her to describe what a bodysuit was for the jury. She spent the next few minutes doing that. And they turned around and they asked her, what did Rob say about not following his rules? And she said, well, there would be consequences. And then she stated that Rob wanted all of his women to remind him of a puppy, his daughter, or mother. She says that when he wants them to sexually please him, he should feel like a puppy when he gets excited, or like a daughter when she's greeting her father and she's excited. He wants to feel that type of love. They asked her, did you feel like you can leave? And she said, no, he had a gun and I was abiding by his rules. Okay, after that, she said she sat on the couch and he fell asleep. She said then she had to use the bathroom. She woke him And he told her, you know where it is, right? She said yes, and he said, go ahead, but just come right back and don't talk to anyone. She said later he told her to call Diana to make arrangements for him to see her again, and then have her take you back to the hotel, or basically call an Uber for the hotel. She said she seen him again. I think she said it was the next day at the studio. She said Diana called the Uber to get her there. Once she got there, Diana walked her to where he was. She said he was listening to his music. He didn't ask her to strip this time. She said he was calm. She didn't get a bad vibe from him. She said he offered her a drink, but then reminded her that he still had a lot to teach her. He then pulled out an iPad and started recording her and just directing her movements for the camera. So it was nothing sexual. He was just taking pictures, and they were basically just sitting in the room and listening to music. So, okay, this is when the prosecution enters exhibit 327A and 327B. It's a CD, and on the CD it has two videos. One video is 20 minutes long. The other video is 4 minutes, 28 seconds long. The first video, I seen some snippets of it. I'm not there yet, but I'll let you guys know. But this is when they're entering those videos into evidence. She testified about the video. They said, you testified about the video recording. She said, correct. And I was in the studio room, correct. They asked her, she had reviewed the videos earlier. Did she recognize them? She said, correct. And she said, and you recognize where they were taped and who were in them? She said, correct. They were taken in the LA studio, and it was video of her and R. Kelly. They actually started with the longer video, which was 327B, 20 minutes, but they didn't do the whole 20 minutes. They did snippets. No, he didn't want her to sound like a puppy. He wanted her to be excited, like how puppies get when they see their owners or something like that. They just start jumping everywhere. Do you know how puppies get up? That's what she's trying to say. So when they started to play the video at that moment, they were having some technical difficulties. So they just decided to just try back a little later and just continue. The prosecution asked her, so after what you just described, did you go back home? She said, yes. Did you still contact Rob? Yes, through FaceTime, texts, and calls. She said she's seen him one more time in New York in February 2018. She said this time, the only reason why she went to go see him then is because she wanted to see what it would be like, what he would be like. Again, Diana booked everything. She said after she arrived, she went to the hotel. Diana sent her an Uber to take her there. They started showing her texts from herself and Diana. She recognized those texts. She said she was given instructions when she got to the hotel to go to the 18th floor. Diana met her and let her into the room. It actually ended up being Rob's suite. After she took her there, they asked what happened. She said she opened the door and she let me in and she left. So no one was there? She said no. She said, did you go anywhere? She said no. Why? Because you couldn't leave without permission. She said he came into the room about 8 a.m. She was asleep. So when he knocked on the door, she got up, she answered the door, and he told her, when she answered the door, she said she was basically yawning, and he told her, well, you're going to have to get used to my schedule. And then he proceeded to tell her to take off her clothes. She told her she wasn't acting like she missed him. She said he walked over to the blinds. He opened the blinds, and she was like, it's 8 a.m. So all the sun just came into the room. And then he told her again, you're not acting like you miss me. He told her to give him a kiss. She did. He told her, no, that's not right. Do it again. So then she did. And then he pulled out his iPad and he told her to start playing with herself. At that moment, she was like, "Oh no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm not doing that. That's not going to happen." So then he told her to go into the bedroom. He told her to lay on the lay on the bed, and then he began to play with himself. She said, and after he did that, he attempted to try to insert his penis into her vagina. However, she said she basically clenched the walls of her vagina to make it tight. So when he tried to enter her, he would have some difficulty. So she said he attempted to do that several times. Eventually, he stopped because he was getting upset. He got up, got his iPad. Well, before he got up, he actually told her to go into the other room. So she sat in a room, and they ended up showing us pictures of how the hotel room was made. So when you walk out the bedroom, there's supposed to be a chair that sits at the door. She said she sat in that chair. Once she sat in that chair, she said she could see him. He pulled out an iPad and he started masturbating. She said he started watching some videos of him having sex with other women. She heard him on the video saying the females' names. They entered into exhibit 954, 955. One of the females' names they did not say. The other female's name was Joy. I'm going to stress they did talk a lot about Joy yesterday and today. The prosecution asked her, "Why would you clench your body?" And she said, "Because I didn't want to have sex with him." They asked, "So he wasn't able to fully penetrate you, but he did put his penis somewhat in your vagina?" She said, "Correct." Happened after told her she needs to be. He basically told her once he was finished that she needed to be more like the two that was on the video. And then he asked her if she wanted some room service. She said she didn't want anything. And he asked her, "Do you know anything about giving massages?" She said, "Kinda, I guess." And then he said, "It's a yes or no question." And then she said, "Yes." And he said, "Well, get on my back." So she said she climbed on his back. Within minutes of her climbing on his back, she said he fell asleep. The prosecution asked at that point, "Did he mention that he had herpes?" No. "Did he use a condom?" No. They began showing pictures of the hotel room. So then they also just talked about the events that led up to when she got to the hotel and up to the 18th floor. And that was exhibit 514, C through I. She took a minute to look through the pictures. They asked her, "Do you recognize these?" She said, "Yes." "What are they?" "Just pictures of the suite." And she just basically said she recognized them all. She described, and that's where she talked about the chair and how she was able to see into the room to see exactly what he was doing. What happened after he fell asleep? So this is funny. Well, not funny, but this is weird. What happened after he fell asleep? She said his phone kept going off. She said it was just going off, constantly just going off, going off. So she said she tried to wake him, but he didn't. So she actually got up, picked up his phone, and she said on there that it was threats coming through. She said the person that was on the phone or that was texting the phone, the contact name was Mama Bear. And then there was some family emojis behind that. And then there was some other numbers as well. But he had two phones, I'm guessing, on the nightstand where he was sleeping at. So both of those phones was going off back to back. They did show one video. They didn't show it to us, but I was able to see it because I stayed in the courtroom during the breaks. So they showed them during the breaks, and I was able to see. So after that, Kanik had objected to her saying that the contact number was Mama Bear and it had some family emojis and some other numbers that was connected to it as well. He objected. The judge actually wasn't hearing his objection. So he had been objecting for a minute, but she wasn't hearing him. So then she had a sidebar about it. She basically says, I'm sorry, I keep saying y'all. She says there is a bunch of numbers, some saved, some not, on his other phone as well. The mama bear, she said the mama bear text threw her off. She didn't, she not saying that she's seen the text or not. But look what she did, y'all. As the phones was going off, she actually grabs her phone and took a picture of his phone. Who does that? What person, if somebody's phone is going off and they get notifications, unless you're trying to be sneaky, in my opinion, and you got something up your sleeve and you feeling like you can use this down the line for whatever it is that you're trying to do, why would a person take a picture of somebody's phone, they notifications? And she said she didn't want to be a part. She said at that time, the mama bear text message kind of threw her off and she didn't want to be a part of that. So that was her reason for taking a picture of his phone. That still don't make sense. And then she said at that time, Diana started knocking on the door and they basically showed the picture that she took of his notification. So basically what I could see is if a person's phone is locked, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, y'all, but if a person's phone is locked, when they get notifications, you don't see the notification. You just see that they have notifications. It doesn't tell you the name of the person texting them. Like when it's locked, that stuff is private. You have to actually open up your phone to see the names of these people that was actually texting. But the screenshot she took shows the time, the person that's texting, and the text message. So that would mean that the phone isn't locked. The reason I'm stating that is because she claims she didn't answer the phone or anything like that because it was locked. She didn't go into it. But I believe that that's not true because of the picture that they ended up showing us. There was also some missed calls from someone she said named Joyce, a 616 number, Mama Bear, Diana, and he missed a FaceTime with somebody named Joyce. So when Diana came into the room, she had entered to let him know that he was almost late to a meeting. So Rob got up, got dressed, but before he left, he told her something just don't feel right. She said she didn't say anything, but she had a problem because when he left, he patted her on her shoulder. And then she said, you just gonna pat me like I'm a player on the team? And he said, yeah, because you are. He said, I'm a motherfucking legend. And then he said, she said something back to him and he said, look, I'm not about to go back and forth with you. I'm not one of them niggas you fuck with. That's what she said his response was. So she said after that she left and she pretty much never seen him again. But she stayed in New York to the next day and then she left to go home. Any questions so far? Yeah, he is a motherfucking legend, right? Any questions on that? Because I'm. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they said, did you send it to you? Yeah, Sylvia.
I said no questions.
Okay. So they asked, did you send a text to Rob after you left? She said she sent an apologetic text just to let him know that she was just a little bit embarrassed, but she didn't hate him and she understood what he was going through. She said at that time he didn't respond. They never spoke again or in a sexual level. She said once she got back to Texas, about 3 days later, she started coming down with a cold. She said then all of a sudden her mouth started having all these bumps around it. And then her tongue had became inflamed and was full of bumps. She said the sight was just disgusting. So she said her parents had asked her, like, what's wrong with your mouth? And then she said she had sent a picture to her sister, who's a nurse, I believe she said. And her sister told her, this looked like you may have herpes. So she said at that time she went to the urgent care. I believe at the urgent care, they actually diagnosed her, but she said she had decided to go to her regular OB-GYN. That's where she goes to get her depot shots, and she's very familiar with that doctor. So when she went there, the OB-GYN also tested her, and she tested positive for type 1 herpes. She said after that she reached out to Rob. He never responded back. She said she just wanted to know if she just wanted him to know, and she just wanted him to acknowledge her and what she had. So she said no matter what she did, he still would not reach out to her to discuss the STD status. So she said at that point, that's when she decided to contact the attorney in Texas. After that, her and her attorney had, since they couldn't contact him, they had went to the Dallas Police Department first. They said while they're, I'm gonna tell y'all this too. When they got to this part, and she was, because Faith liked to run her mouth on that stand. When she started talking about what was going on at that police department, she started talking a little bit too much. The government had to cut her off several times, like stop her, just ask the question, and then don't say no more. So she went on to say, they asked why you were there, what did they do? She says they told her basically to call Rob, and you need to get a recording of him. So she said she tried to call, he didn't call. So at that point, they were getting the courts was getting interrupted. I think the prosecution and defense was going back and forth with that. But she said she did make that phone call to him in the presence of the Dallas police. And then if he was to answer, she said she was just going to discuss the herpes. And that's because that's what she was advised to do, to make the recordings of him discussing it. So her and her lawyer attempted to do that. A couple of days later, she had actually got a call from him. But prior to that, she was texting every day and he wasn't responding. So when he called her, he said, "Hey, your name came up, but you're the only face I know." He said, "I just want you to know that you still have a friend in me." And then she said, "Well, why you didn't tell me?" And he said, "Tell you what?" And she said, "You had herpes." He said, "I don't know what you're talking about. And if I did, I wouldn't be discussing it over the phone." And he told her, "Listen, if you want to talk, you can talk to me. You could just fly to Chicago." But this time she said he told her, "But you're going to have to pay for it yourself, and then I'll just pay you back when you get here or something." So she said, but she never went. Then we had recordings. So then she ended up going to the police in Long Island. She came to New York to file a police report. Her lawyer name in Texas was Lee Merritt. He was supposed to have referred her to Lydia Hill. So she went to Lydia Hill, and that's where she filed her lawsuit. They submitted into evidence Exhibit 231. Again, it was a letter that was sent to Lydia. So when she got there, the prosecution asked her, "Did your lawyer show you these documents?" She said, "Correct." And then they showed the notice of delivery, correct. On the paperwork, the name June Barrett, notary, was entered. Address 1826 South Miller Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. She said, "Correct." And there was another letter that was addressed to her attorney, correct. So then they wanted to they put focus on a particular part in the letter. The parts in the letter that they was focusing on pretty much was the signatures, people's names that was on it. They did not get into detail what the letter was, but we all know what that letter said. That is supposedly the letter that Don and Don Russell's mom had typed up and sent to Faith's attorneys. So y'all know what that is. Basically, for those who don't know what it was saying, it had said on there, please advise your client to abandon this foolish claim. If she doesn't, she will be subjected to public embarrassment. They will disclose they will disclose the proof they have of 10 male sexual partners. They said if she really cares anything about her reputation, she will cease this lawsuit. Then you have Rob's signature, and then they showed the stamp that it says that he does not accept this contract. I do not agree to these proceedings. And then again, it shows June's stamp as the notary. Her signature on several of the pages, another signature on the top. There's witness signatures as well. On the fourth page, they said, here is Faith, your client. And then they showed 4 photos. 3 were from TV and 1 that says, here's a sample of the real Faith. And remember, she's living in Texas and sent this via text. So that complaint falls flat, that she was intimidated and she was forced to send that picture. So she can't say that because she was in Texas, Rob was in Chicago, and she sent that picture via text. Just sum that up. And then on another one, it was her and Rob that was in the studio. On another, it was one with her breast partially exposed. And then on another, it showed her butt partially exposed. And then in the last pic, it was her in an outfit that she said he asked for her to send. Below the photographs, she had wrote underneath that photograph, "Is this better, Daddy?" So then the text, so then that's where the text written, I am not a singer. I am a singer, not a doctor. So how does Faith justify the transmission of these photos? They said very interesting. It also on there, they said it's very interesting how a difference in age only becomes a problem when things don't go her way. Okay, so they started to show more pictures of the text between her and Rob. One she sent an actual address, and she said because she was going out and that was part of his rules, so she sent him the address to let him know where she would be. And then there was some more texts from April. After her final trip, there was some more text between them. And she said the reason why she filed the police report is because when she was in Dallas at that time, hold on. She was so basically she said the reason why she had to file the civil suit is because she wasn't getting anywhere with the criminal lawsuit. They was telling her to follow up, but however, she really didn't speak on the phone with Rob until after the news had broke that she had filed the lawsuits. Then they showed her some more text messages. Then she said that yes, all of those messages were sent to her lawyer, and it was after she filed the lawsuit. At that time, we broke at 11:20. And then that's when I while everyone else was on break, I got to watch parts of the video recorded at Rob's iPad of Rob and Faith while she sat in a chair. And basically, it just looked like she was sitting in a chair. It was a swivel chair. And she had on something black. I believe that might have been the bodysuit. She was smiling. She looked nice. And they was playing his music in the background. Okay, so during that break also there was some type of issue. So there was a sidebar with the attorneys. break had ended up being a little bit longer today. So instead of it being just 10, 15 minutes, it ended up being almost 37 minutes. So the prosecution is still up. The judge apologized for the delay. And then they began to they asked her, so you testified about the trip to LA and in the studio you went to. Hold on, y'all. Okay, so and this with the prosecution, the judge even said something to them about this because she was like, I'm not trying to rush you, but I am rushing you because you pretty much is repeating the same questions. But so they asked again about the trip to LA, the studio she went to. She talked about what happened. They started with they was getting ready to start with the video. They asked her, did she review them? She said before they shown it to the court, she said yes, it's about 20 minutes long. The prosecutor, that's when the prosecution started to ask some more questions, and the judge said, listen, you already asked these questions, not trying to rush you, but I am. Then she started laughing. So they began to play the video. When they began to play the video, it wasn't supposed to be for the whole courtroom. So everybody, Rob, his team, the prosecution, they all had them put on headphones. They put the headphones on, and then they played the video, but you can hear it. Well, I'm sorry, they did not play the video. We couldn't see the video, but they was trying to also keep us from hearing the sound. So they put on headphones. However, when they played, it still played for the entire courtroom, so we still heard it. But I'm gonna tell you something that was so cool. When he heard his music, Rob got he was bopping back and forth. He started using his hands like he was playing the piano. It was so nice to see him like that. Because normally, he's just sitting there talking to his attorneys and stuff, but he was moving his hands, he was bobbing his head. I really believe for that moment he forgot where he was at. Not saying that that's a bad thing, but I think he, first time in 2 years, he probably really heard his music. So, okay, so they asked her in the video, you can hear him saying something in the background, but I couldn't make out what it was. But they asked her, what was he saying? And she said he told her to fix her legs. And then he also told her, anytime you have a man, there's no reason for you to be having your legs crossed or pointed at another man. That's my opinion. He was saying that that's disrespectful. So he was telling her to fix her legs. And he was saying that that's how she should sit anytime they're in a club or something together. Let me see. And at that point, that's when I noticed he started doing the piano motion. So I wrote that down. 4 steps, right? And then he said something. They stopped it, and then they played another couple of seconds of it. Then they asked Faith, what was he saying there? And she said, Rob said to give me a kiss and to rub his beard. And then at that point, they had lost the sound. So they had to... So they lost the sound, so we wasn't able to hear anything else. But the courtroom was able, not the overflow room, but the courtroom, the jury, the prosecution, and defense was still allowed to see the video. So they will continue to watch the video. The prosecution stopped her and asked her, what was he saying at that point? And she said that's when he had actually got up to speak to an engineer that was in a separate room. And at another point in the video, she said that's when he said, talk to daddy. But then he continued to listen to various other tracks. And then they had another video that was about what I told y'all, 4 minutes and 24 seconds long. Again, music was playing, and then she said Rob asked her to rub the top of his head slowly, and she said she did that for the rest of the video. And then they went back to the address, to the text message that she sent him with that address. Y'all arguing in the chat. Sylvia,
Huh?
never mind. I was just saying, I'm like, if they arguing in the chat, what's going on? Should
Who's
I keep
arguing?
going?
Who's arguing? I must have missed it.
I was looking at what Black Beauty had commented.
Black Beauty?
Yeah.
I know that's what she just
Okay.
she puts stuff out there. She does. She's like my reporter.
My,
Put
gotcha.
notification. Yeah, she put notification out for me. But somebody asked, was any of the videos sexual?
No. No. They was just listening to music. That's
Wow.
it.
Wow.
Unless rubbing his forehead while he listening to some music with her is sexual. There was nothing sexual that day with them.
Wow.
And then after that, she said they went back to that text where he asked her to send the address. She said she sent it to him, just letting him know where he was, even though he wasn't there. They asked her, did you participate in the Surviving R. Kelly's? Yes. Did you travel to New York? Yes. She said, why was... Okay, they asked her why, and she said, well, because there was supposed to be a preview of the show. She said she stayed at the Pearl. They showed pictures of the Pearl Hotel. Did you attend? Yes. Did something happen? Yes. She said she had been there less than 10 months, and the producers had said that they had to evacuate. So they was not allowed to testify about the reason they had to evacuate. She could not speak on that. Did your team tell you why they objected? Judge the same. And then she started to answer, but they stopped her. She said it was over at that time, so she went back to the Pearl. And then they asked her, okay, they showed an exhibit. I didn't write the exhibit number down this time, you guys. They asked her, do you recognize this person? She said, yes, Cash Jones. When did you meet? January 2020. Where? At the premiere, after we were evacuated. What was the first encounter you had with her? At the Pearl. What did she say? She said nothing to me directly. Did you speak on the phone? She said we spoke on the phone. She had said she wanted to meet up to discuss files she had in New York. She said she met up with her at Applebee's, her mother, and guess who the friend was that was with them? Summer Bunny. However, she said, and a friend, we found out later that it was Summer Bunny. Then they showed Exhibit 510, which was basically just pictures of the Applebee's. She said when she arrived, she met with Cash. She was with someone, and then she said she described as a cousin, and then she had a security guard. They stressed that the security guard had a gun. Most security guards do have guns, otherwise they wouldn't be security guards. But I'm just saying, I don't know. She observed the security guard had his hand on his gun while they spoke almost the entire time. And where's the problem with that? You don't know who Cash is. She could be the hottest thing since Beyonce. We don't know that, so you don't know who you're talking to. So maybe he had a reason to have his hand on his gun. She said as they spoke, Cash and her, she told her that she wasn't a fan of Rob's. Cash said she was not a fan of Rob's. She worked for him. Said she wasn't against the accusers, but she wasn't for them either. She showed her the files of Faith's mug shots and some naked pics and said Rob planned on putting those out if she proceeded with the lawsuit. Now, mind you, listen to what I'm saying, because we're going to get to the next witness. It's going to be different. She said she showed her files of mug shots and naked pics. And Cash said Rob planned on putting that out if she proceeded with that lawsuit. She recognized the photos, and she recognized that those were the same photos that were sent to her attorney. However, the ones that were sent to her attorney, she was covered. In these pictures, she was not. So she was just exposed. She said, and she knew those pictures because those were pictures that Rob took of her personally. Um, they asked her, was she familiar with the Facebook page Surviving Lies? She said yes. She said she became aware of it 1 week after the Surviving R. Kelly aired. She said people were sending her screenshots, and she woke up that morning and it was a lot of, her phone was just going off or whatever, because I guess her news was on that page and the addresses of some of the accusers. She said she testified. Okay, so at this point, she also had she was screenshotting her FaceTime chats with Rob. In those pictures, she had gave over to the government as well. So that's what I tell y'all about them people that be posting them pictures when they be on FaceTime with Rob and they got to take them pictures. Why are you taking them pictures? And then putting them on social media. So she did that. And then she sent those, she actually used those and gave them to the government. So in court today, they showed us those pictures. She testified. She testified earlier. They said that you did testify earlier that you did engage in some sexting with Rob. She showed the text. They showed some text. She said yes. Testified about her trip to New York and the events that occurred February the 3rd, 2018. They showed text messages of that. And they also showed a text that Rob had sent to her saying, when she was waiting for him in a hotel during one of those trips, he sent her saying, "Daddy coming now." And so they showed that in court. So I guess that was that morning where she didn't perform good, or he just left and was upset, because she said that AM she sent a text the next evening that was talking about their interaction in the room, and she said she didn't want any repercussions, so she was like being apologetic. And then they asked her, well, what would have been the repercussions? She said, I don't know what they would have been. And so the prosecution said, well, he had naked pictures of you, right? Yes. And he had this on you, right? Yes. So the prosecution was kind of leaning towards that probably was the repercussions. He was going to put all of that information out, even though that's not what he said, or that's not what they actually asked her. They just tried to put it out there. So now the defense is up. So Kenneth asked before they asked her, kind of started how they started with Jane Doe number 5. Before you started your testimony, did you meet with the government? And then this is crazy. I couldn't even write this down. This was losing me. So please bear with me with this, because it was so hard to take all of these notes down almost verbatimly like I did with the others. This was kind of hard. And then her and Kenneth was going back and forth so much. The judge even had to tell both of them, you stop. It was a lot. So he basically, first question he asked her was, before you started your testimony, you met with the government to go over your questions, and you spoke with them last. She said she did, and then he said you spoke with them last night too. She said she didn't, and he asked, when was the last time you spoke with them? And he asked, you spoke with them this morning? She said, just to say good morning. He said, so you had no communication with what? So you had no communication with them about what you're sitting here telling the jury? She said, no. We only spoke about the text messages. She asked, and he asked her, well, what about the text messages you speak of? And then she turned to the judge and says, do I have to answer his question? And the judge said, you do. So when else did he proceeded and said, when else did you meet with them? Sunday? She said Sunday. He said, what time? Don't remember. He asked her, did you meet with them on Sunday? I don't remember. What time? Don't know. You don't remember if it was the morning, noon, or night? I don't remember. So he said, so you mean to tell me you can remember details from 3 years ago, but you can't remember if you met with them at what time on Sunday? And she said, correct. Judge asked, Judge, that's when the judges were, did you meet with the prosecution before Sunday? And then she said, yes, last month. And he asked how many times? She said, not sure. He said, more than 3? She said, correct. More than 5? She said, not sure. So before speaking to the government, he said, you have been on talk shows. Correct. I've been on a few, not sure the names. So he said, Dr. Oz, correct. Social media shows, correct. Surviving R. Kelly, correct. She said she started, hold on one second. She said she didn't start her participation with these talk shows or anything until after her lawsuit was filed. He asked, when was your lawsuit filed? She said, not sure. Was it before you came to New York for the premiere? Correct. Which was in January 2019. He said, when did you start? He said, when you started to participate in these shows, were you getting paid? And she said she was paid. What? When she participated with Surviving R. Kelly, did you get paid? And she said she was paid for pictures. So some of the pictures that they used on the show, Faith had gave to them, and she was paid $1,000 for those pictures. They asked, is that all the money? And she says, yes. Any money from the talk shows? No. Podcast? No, sir. She said, they asked, when did you meet Rob? 2017 in college. She said, correct. They said you didn't want to pursue school, correct? They said, did you seek employment? No. At any time with Rob, were you employed? No, sir. Before meeting him, were you pursuing acting career? She said, no. They said, before Surviving R. Kelly, did you pursue acting? She said, no. And then she proceeded to say the opportunity came about, but when and went. And she said she had the chance to be a part of some things, but then she decided against it. So when they came to her with the podcast name, asked, what's the podcast name? Don't remember. Was there a host? There was a host, correct? And you sat opposite of her for over an hour, discussed things happening for you. You discussed things that's been happening for you since you did the Survivor. Well, since you've been with R. Kelly. She said she discussed opportunities about acting. She don't remember. She couldn't remember any of that because she was trying to say she didn't discuss any opportunities with acting, but then he reminded her that all that stuff is recorded and some is televised. He went into, before you participated, did you have an attorney? Lee Merritt. And he asked, is he an attorney out of Dallas? She said no, out of San Antonio. No, I'm sorry. He asked, was that an attorney out of San Antonio? She said no, out of Dallas. And again, it was so much back and forth before they actually got to that part. Even that little question right there sparked a lot of chaos in the courtroom before she actually answered that question. She said at that point, she retained another attorney, which was Gloria Allred. Any pending lawsuits that Gloria is involved in? She said no. He said, who? She said, Lee Merritt. Did you return? They asked, when did you retain Gloria? She said, once the legal criminal process started around 2019. She's not sure. So then the podcast was called Paper Route. Yes. What else was her name? The host, don't remember. She discussed the choices she had made with RSK. They talked about, before you brought the lawsuit, her and Merritt had actually, and this was a jaw dropper too, y'all. Before she brought that lawsuit on Rob, her and her attorney sent a demand letter to Rob for $3 million. And she, of course, got excited again because she swore up and down She was not aware of that. She never knew that her attorney had asked for money. And then Kennick said, well, isn't this your attorney? And she said, yes. And he said, well, if you don't know what he's doing, what did you hire him for? There was an objection. It was sustained at that time. Let me see where I leave off because I was freestyling right there. She said she was not aware and asked, what did you hire him for to pursue criminal charges? And then they asked, she said that she actually hired her lawyer to pursue criminal charges. And then they asked, when did that happen? And she couldn't remember that he was supposed to start that process. So this at this time, Kennick starts to approach her and showing her some documents. And yeah, so did you look at the document? She said, correct. Did it refresh your memory? Correct. They actually started this proceeding. She left Rob April, and they started the proceeding April 9th, 2019. She went to the Dallas Police Department, but they filed the lawsuit. She's saying he was basically saying that they filed the lawsuit before they even gave the criminal process even a chance, or started the lawsuit before they started the criminal proceedings. At that point, she acted as though she didn't understand the question, and she asked him to keep reading it back to her. This time, the court reporter just went ahead and read it back. So then she said, correct. Before making a complaint with the Dallas police, anywhere else, did you do it anywhere else in New York? At this time, she said she's not sure the date. He showed her the day. She said, he asked her, where in New York did you file? She said, I don't remember. He said, did you go into these places yourself? She said, correct. He said, but you don't know the places or the city. She said, one was filed in New York. She don't remember the date. Come to find out, she filed that in January 14, 2019. He gives her something else to refresh her memory. And then she reads off, that she filed it January 14th. And then she filed another lawsuit in New York in June 21st, 2018. She didn't remember that as well, that date either. So he asked her, before coming in, you and I never spoke, correct? You and I have never spoken, she said, correct. You testified that it came a time when you went to the concert with your sister, you met Rob. So now he going back. He backpedaling a little bit. She said, correct. You testified that y'all exchanged numbers. And she said, no, I did not testify to that. I testified that he gave me his number. And so Kennick said, so you never gave him yours? And she said, we text. He said, so there was agreement that you guys came to an agreement that you could visit him, correct? Whenever you wanted to, correct? You made the decision that you would visit him, correct? You contacted him to meet with him, correct? Then began, at that time, they began calling, texting, they flirted with each other, and he asked, and Rob flirted with you, she said, correct? You flirted back, correct? He said, isn't it true that you made the first contact with his people? Correct. You told Rob's assistant that Rob said to get you a ticket. Basically, this is Kennick's exact words. You told Rob's assistant to get you a ticket, and she said no. I told her the dates that I wanted to come, and then she had to contact him to make sure that was okay, and she got a ticket. Then eventually, he said, well, then eventually you got a ticket, right? And she said, yes. And he said, but it wasn't in your name. It was in another female name. She said, correct. So he said, after that, you got mad and made the decision that you wasn't going. Correct. You made the decision not to go. Correct. Where did you decide not to? She said he said, why did you decide not to go? And she said, because I felt like to make a mistake like that the first time and put another female name on the ticket, that was improper. Um, but he said, but after that, you still continue to text, call, and FaceTime. And she said, correct. And he said, you participated at that at your own will, correct. And then decided to give another shot to take another trip with him, correct. And he said again, you made that decision, then decided to contact Diana and ask for another ticket. Is that correct? Correct. At that time, we broke for lunch. Anybody have any questions? Sylvia, you see any questions? Okay, so today we were at lunch. The judge said that we would be able to take a longer lunch because she has some other things to tend to. So instead of coming back at 2:15, we went back at 2:35. Kenneth continues his cross-examination. He says, after the initial meeting, did you Google Rob? Yes. Why? To find out who he was. After you Google him, you read what you saw on a computer, correct? Yes. Do you recall the incident early? Oh, okay. So Rob texted her and had said to her, come on, you know who I am. I'm seeing a few people. I'm not married. She responded, oh, I'm the same, LOL. She said, correct. They talked about the incident of the girl in Faith, the girlfriend that stabbed Faith. They talked about that incident. So here's the thing. Kanik has said, so your ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, and Faith quickly jumped into defense mode and was like, it's not his girlfriend, it's his baby's, it's his mother, the mother of his child. What did he say? Yeah, it was only that one video. It was on that one video. She said, well, that it wasn't, she got real offended and said that it wasn't his girlfriend, it was the mother of his child. That there's a difference. And he was like, no, he said, is there a difference? She said, there is a difference. It's almost like being a wife or being a girlfriend. And so he was like, okay, whatever. You testified that you got epilepsy. She said, yes. You can't drink alcohol. Yes. At Rob's party, you drank alcohol. Yes. That wasn't the first time for you to consume alcohol at your own choosing. Yes. You called him daddy on the phone, text, and etc. at your own choosing, correct? She said, the reason why I did that is because I respected what he asked me to call him, but you didn't have to. She said, correct. He asked, do you remember testifying that he hung up on you because when he called you, you didn't call him daddy? She said, yes, but he called back and you called him daddy. Yes, but you didn't have to answer that phone. Yes, and you didn't have to answer and call him daddy. She said, correct, but you did. Correct. They talked about another trip where she initiated it. Once again, this is another trip that she initiated and asked Diana to set it up. Yes. You got on a plane by yourself. Yes. She said, and it was actually a connecting flight. Yes. So that means you had the opportunity to change your mind. Yes. But you still boarded the plane to Chicago. Oh, wherever they was meeting. I'm sorry. Yes. You went to the hotel. Yes. On your own free will. Yes. Do you remember what time? Morning, noon, night? She couldn't remember. She didn't remember any of that. Because his point was, you actually, if she would have said, and you know it's probably in the middle of the night, you actually boarded a plane, you did all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, you felt like he was violating you the whole time, but you was doing all of this by yourself. So then he says, then you contacted Diana for what to do next, and then you actually went to a concert once she gave you the instructions. Yes. He said you didn't sit in the first row, but you was close. Yes. Testified that Rob made eye contact with you. Yes. Did you make eye contact with him? Yes. He was asking if the stage rotated, and she said, I don't remember. He said, so at the point that you were making eye contact, were you making eye contact, losing eye contact? Was the stage rotating? And she just kept saying the same thing. I don't remember. Then asked if she was going. He said at that time, they asked if you were going to an after party. Did you go? She said no. She got an Uber to go back to the hotel. And she said the reason why she did that is because she wasn't invited to the after party. Diana told her he was going to the after party and then she was to go back to the hotel. They began to talk about him coming to the hotel and how she was embarrassed at their encounter. I don't know if y'all remember what I was saying yesterday, how he was telling her he still has a lot to teach her and stuff. So they talking about that encounter. He asked, and you called your friend to see if you had done something wrong. Yes. After that, they argued for a little bit again. Then you end up flying back. You ended up flying back to Texas, and there you started to text, phone, and FaceTime him even still. Even though you were feeling degraded and embarrassed, you did that on your own, right? Correct. Although he did all of that to you, you still wanted to see him again. She said, correct. You then got another, you then got another ticket and flew to see him again. They asked, where did you go this time? She said, I don't know. What do you mean? He said, Your Honor, no, she goes, I don't know. What do you mean? Your Honor, he's not making himself clear. I don't know what he's talking about. So then the judge asked, where did you go after you left New York the first time? Chicago. That was the answer. She went to Chicago. She didn't want to answer those questions. So he said, so you went on another unwanted, so you had another unwanted sexual encounter. Correct. But you went back home and continued to FaceTime, phone, text, and everything, even after that unwanted sexual encounter. Correct. And then you decided to take another trip after the third unwanted sexual encounter. Correct. So he says, and you went through the same process. You contacted Diana about where to go next. Correct. And I think it was Dallas is where she went to next. And he said, and in Dallas, you had another degrading experience on that trip. That was another, he said that was another degrading trip, huh? And she said, I didn't say that. He said, you didn't like the trip? He said, I didn't say that. And so the Dallas trip, you had alcohol, even though you have seizures. Correct. You indicated you were left in the Sprinter while he was in a cigar bar. She said, incorrect. She didn't say that. She clearly said that because he said, let me go in here and go see how many niggas in this spot. And then he never came out. That's when she said she was with Joy. But he said, but you were at some point left in the Sprinter. Correct. For how long? A number of hours. 2? No. 4? Yes. So you felt some type of way. And she said, no, I felt left behind. It bothered me. He forgot me. And I understand he's an entertainer. I was upset I couldn't use the bathroom. And then she said after that, she went home. And then he went, but again, you contacted Diana again to see him. This was the LA trip. She testified in LA, he was stern, and then that's when they had the gun. She was frightened. And then she said, yes, I was frightened during that trip. And so on this, she says that's where she performed oral sex on him because she had told him that she was on her period. She said yes. And then he said he left you alone again. She said yes. And then Kennick said, and you left again. She said yes. And then he said, did it become a time you went to see him again? Yes. And then she said, but after that, that was the final time. She said, "What city were he asked, what city were you in, or did you go to?" And she said she went to New York. Okay, yeah. So when you spoke to the New York police after filing a report, you told the NY police Rob penetrated your vagina and anus, and she said, "I never said that." So then he brought over some docs to prove that she did say that in the second paragraph. So basically, in the beginning of her testimony, she said that he tried to penetrate her vagina. But in the statements that the police had, she said her anus and her vagina, and now she's denying that she said those in those documents. He brings her the documents, tell her to read the second paragraph where it's stated, and then she said, "Well, this isn't true." And he asked, "Well, was you there when they were taking the notes?" And she said, "Yes." And then he said, "Well, did you read it afterwards?" She said, "Yes." And he said, "And you still, so what are you saying? They made it up?" And she said, "I don't know. Is it true?" Okay, so this part right here, the last question, no, that wasn't his last question. But then he goes, "Is it true that you told the detective that you actually tested positive for herpes in December of 2013? She said, "Incorrect. I never said that." And he said, "So if it says it in these documents, it's incorrect." And she said, "Yes." At that point, he proceeded to his next question, but he put it out there that she supposedly told a detective that she actually tested positive for herpes in December of 2013, y'all.
Wow, she had it before she met him.
She had it before she met him. And it's funny because when the prosecution redirected, they didn't touch on that. They didn't touch on that at all. She just got offended. She was like, "That is not true. I never said that. That's not true." And Kenny said, "So if I show it to you in these documents, you're gonna tell me that it's incorrect?" And she said, "Yes." He said, "So now after the LA experience where you say he had a gun and violated you sexually, did you come a time that you decided to visit him again?" She said, "Yes." The experience were never to your liking. So he was basically saying, so that all the experiences you had with him were never to your liking. You felt violated, sexually violated. She said, "Correct." You couldn't use the bathroom. Correct. He said, "Didn't get food." She said, "I didn't say that." He said, "Well, did you get food?" She said, "I never said that either." And he said, "And yeah, you still arranged another trip to New York. Got you an Uber." Yes, your own admission. You asked for the trip and you took the trip by yourself. She said, "Yes." At some point, you said you met Joy. Where? In Dallas. You said she was unkempt and kept in the Sprinter for long, unkempt and kept in the Sprinter for long periods of time. It's true. Meeting her was a weird experience. Didn't you just say the whole trip was negative? I think she had said something to the extent of, "I didn't say the whole trip was negative." And he said, "Do you remember saying that Diana?" She said, "Didn't you remember saying that Diana followed you into the bathroom?" And then she said, "No, she didn't follow. She led me." Okay. Well, he said, "Well, do you remember that you said that?" Well, he said, "Well, do you think she was trying to refrain you?" And she said, "No." And she said, "You walked." Then she walked back to the Sprinter. She followed her. Did she ever put hands on you? She said, "No." So you testified that she stood outside the store. Yes. Did that bother you? She said, "It didn't really, it bothered me," but she said it was kind of different because I never had nobody stand outside the stool and just wait for me. So he proceeded to ask, "Were you aware that she worked for Rob?" Yes. "Were you aware that she assists with Rob's guests and it's her job to escort guests and you were technically one of his guests?" And she said, "Well, I didn't know that was her job until later on." You testified about sending pics of your clothing. Yes. You were in San Antonio. Yes. He wasn't. Correct. He asked you at some point. You sent the pictures of you and your family. Correct. You text him clear. She said he texted me clear as day. Where are you? So that's why I sent the pictures of me and my family at the Olive Garden. He said he then sent a picture of the outfit and you asked him, was that okay? She said, yes. You were in San Antonio. Yes. He wasn't. Yes. But at some point, you still sent the picture of your outfit. Yes. Basically he's trying to make it known to the jury. They were never in the same state. So she didn't have to send anything. It was to her discretion what she sent, when she sent it, and how she sent it. She didn't have to do anything. And she's still not saying if she didn't send it, what would have happened to her. All she said it was going to be some repercussions. What's the repercussions? You don't even know what the repercussions is. Most times when people tell you, listen, if you don't do A, B, C, or D, this is what's going to happen to you. If that never happened, why would you assume that there was going to be some repercussions? Maybe he was just telling you to send it because he just wanted to make sure you look nice. Maybe he just wanted to, or see, oh, okay, I don't like them shoes. When I see her, I'm going to make sure I get her some different shoes, the kind I want her to wear. Maybe it was something like that. Why are you making everything seem negative? How many women on here, guys said, send me a picture? How many niggas text women and the first thing they say to them, why don't you send me a picture? Send me a picture. Like, is you serious? This man is on trial because he asked for a picture. I do believe her sister had posted on social media that she did have not Faith, but the other one. She did have herpes before she met Rob. Okay, so they went back to you testified about your LA trip when Rob jogged in and out of the studio. And she said yes. And he said, well, he was a high in demand artist, right? So at this point, Kendrick is trying to say he's jogging in and out because he's trying to get his music going. He like, hey, what's up, baby? How you doing? And came in and out of the studio because he's in the studio, so he's working. She said he asked her, you knew he was a high demand artist, correct? She said, no, I didn't. And he said, well, didn't you Google him? I think at that point the prosecution tried to object, but the judge, what is that? Not sustained, but overruled it. And then she says, Faith says to the judge, Your Honor, may I? And she said, no, just answer the question. And so she went back and forth with the judge. Well, I can't answer the question because he's not saying it right, and I can't. So she's decided right then that she wanted to. And then she was like, he's not making the questions clear. And the judge was like, his questions are perfectly clear. You just need to answer the questions. And she said, well, I didn't spend time like that reading on him. So I didn't spend time looking. I just looked him up. She said it was real quick. I didn't sit there and just read it. I didn't look at all his #1 hits and how he ranks as an artist and this and that. She said she didn't do none of that, but she still Googled him. She didn't need to look at no pictures. She knew what he looked like. So if you ain't looking at his pictures because you knew how he looked, you went to his show. That's where you met him. So you knew what he's saying, how he sounded when he sang. So you wasn't Googling him to listen to his music. So what else was you Googling him for? Make that make sense. You was Googling him to get other information that you couldn't get about him from attending one of his shows or just sitting backstage talking to him. I personally feel this is just another one of them. Let me go back, dig up his past. Let me study that a little bit and let me see what I can get up out this nigga. That's just my opinion. They said you testified that your friend told you that your friend was really excited that you had met R. Kelly. She said no. And he said your friend wasn't excited. She said no, my friend was more like encouraging. Oh no, I'm sorry. She said no, it wasn't my friend, it was my sister. And then she basically had said that her sister was encouraging the relationship. She let me see, friend told her, and then but her friend, her actual friend, told her, you better talk to him. That's a grown ass man right there. Then she turned around and told the judge again, Your Honor, these questions aren't clear. I think these questions aren't clear. I don't understand them. And she said, I think they are. Again, answer the questions to the best of your ability. You told your friend you met R. Kelly. Sure. That was her response. Sure. She's been a smart ass at this time. Again, she told you better talk to him. That's a grown ass man. Yes. She was excited. No. Encouraging. She said no. She was encouraging. Your sis was equally excited and she convinced you. She told you. She said no. She was encouraging too. So when you were in LA and you were sitting in and waiting in the Sprinter, you were uncomfortable? She said yes. They said, did you try to open the door? No. This is funny to y'all because she said, did you open the door? No. She texted Diana. Yes. She came to open the door. You went to the bathroom and then she brought you back. Yes. How many times did you go to the bathroom? Twice. And you text her each time? Yes. Where was Diana at? In the Sprinter. And she's in the Sprinter. You in the Sprinter. You sitting there texting her. Why you just didn't call out to this lady? Hey, I need to go to the bathroom. She said she wouldn't have heard me. No. You know what that says to me? You studied this shit. You heard about them other girls and you was just a little bit smarter. So everything you did, you put it in a text message so that you can have proof of shit. You text this person because you wanted to be able to show that you had the text to use the bathroom when in actuality you didn't because the motherfucker was sitting right in the front of the damn Sprinter. You could have easily got up and walked your ass up there and said, let me off this motherfucker. I need to use the bathroom. Excuse my language. Do that make sense to y'all? She was setting him up. If that's not a setup, I don't know what a setup is. You were texting so that you had a paper trail of this shit. That's why you kept all of these messages from 3-4 years ago. That's why you kept them. 80 pages. She probably the only witness that was able to give the government that many damn text messages. That's a red flag. You deleted. So in her phone, she changed the contact from daddy to do not reply. Why change the contact name? Why not just delete the contact and block the number? He wasn't calling you no more any damn way. But you didn't do that. Why? Because you had to save your paper trail. Y'all better peep game. And I'm going to tell you another thing. When Azriel and the other girl, Jane Doe number 5 and the other girl got on that stand, the one thing they did not do, they did not ask them any questions about what do your parents do for a living. However, when Miss Faith got on that stand, they asked, what do your parents do for a living? What did she say? Her father is a supervisor at a school district and he is a pastor. Her mom runs a child care. They already came in trying to paint the picture that this child is so holy, and she can't do no wrong. Any questions? I'm getting a little sidetracked. My apologies, y'all. Okay, let me go back. I'm just so y'all know, Faith testimony was the longest one here. That's probably why I'm getting a little bit sidetracked because I won't be on here like yesterday. Hers was the longest one, and I'm just about finished. Okay, I left off where she could have easily just got her butt up and just asked Diana to go to the bathroom, but yet she's still texting. You testified that you answered his phone. He said that you answered his phone. She said, no, I looked at his text. And then she said, no, I looked at the notification for his text. His phone, she said, I couldn't see the text because his phone is locked. So we're going to go back. When your phone is locked, 9 times out of 10, your screenshots or your notifications just pop up. You have one notification, you got 2 notifications. I don't have an iPhone. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. Mine don't show my notifications. But if my phone is unlocked and I get a notification, it's going to show the name of the person that's texting me, calling me, whatever it may be. She was able to take a picture of that and know that someone named Joyce called him repeatedly. Mama Bear with the family emojis, a number from 616 was calling him. If his phone was locked, how was you able to get that information? Am I wrong? Do iPhones do that? Okay. She said, they said, you said it was a group chat. She said, no, I didn't say it was a group chat. She clearly said it was a group chat. She said in the beginning of her testimony, it was a group chat and some of the numbers were unsaved. So all she's seeing was numbers, but the numbers that were saved, she recognized as it said Joyce and Mama Bear. She said, she claimed, she said, no, it was a group of women. You did not say that. Did he know that you were going through his phone? She said, no, he was asleep. And he said, and then at some point, that's when Diana came to the room and got him up and said he had to go to a meeting. She said, yes. But remember what I said. She testified that when Rob got up from there, he told her something don't feel right. Something ain't right. And he left. So he knew she was in his phone or doing something. He knew that. Then they went back to saying, okay, so you appeared on like 7 different shows, and she said she don't recall. And they asked, you appeared on CBS with your attorney. She said yes. You appeared, there was another one. She said she didn't recall. You were on Dr. Oz, yes, with the attorney. The attorney actually participated in that one. They said you appeared on Chelsea Grayson. And she said, that's not a show, that's a person. But yes. And then he said, well, you were on Channel 5 too. And she said, well, that's not a show, it's a channel. So I don't know. So he said, okay, well, needless to say, you appeared on at least 5 to 7 shows and podcasts. Correct. So then they went back to the podcast Paper Trail. On Paper Trail, she did an interview and he quoted what she had said on there. She says, I do not like the word victim. I'm not a victim. Let's be clear. But I had a choice. She said, but I had a choice. Do I like what he did? Hell no. But I still had a choice. I didn't take no money, move in with him or anything. I am not a victim. Is this correct? She said, correct. So now the prosecution is trying to redirect. So when they came back and redirected, they just touched on some points. And this one is really quick, you guys. So she said, the prosecution said, so the defense asked you questions about how did you remember details from 3 years ago, but you couldn't remember details from Sunday. The government said, isn't it true that you provided us with screenshots? And she said, yes. And he said, so basically that's the way you were able to recall things that happened from 3 years ago because you just went over your text messages. And she said, correct. But then that goes right back to what I just said. Why are you keeping these text messages if you ain't got shit up your sleeve? Some of this stuff, you didn't even have to text him. He didn't ask you what you wearing today, but you still sent him a picture saying, this is what I'm wearing for today. But he didn't ask for that information. You volunteered it. That sounds like a setup to me. Just because you know that this was what these other chicks were saying. So you going to be a little bit smarter than them and you going to keep a paper trail. Ask questions about college. Have you, she was saying the defense asked you questions about college and you're not finishing. Have your parents supported you financially? Yes. Do they continue? Yes. Are they successful? Yes. Have you ever needed for anything? No. Did they support you while you were in your relationship with R. Kelly? Yes. Remember questions about going to the police department? Yes. And then she just basically tried to say she actually filed the police report first and then filed her lawsuit. She said correct. They asked you questions about your various travel. Yes, you testified that certain things happened you thought were bad. Correct. You also they were saying that you also testified that Rob has two sides. Correct. So sometimes you went and took these trips simply because you didn't know what side you were going to get. You thought you would get the good side. Correct. On the podcast, you also said that you're not a victim, but you did say you're not a survivor either. She said correct. They asked about all the choices. Asked that you had choices in the things that you testified about. Correct. During your time with Rob, this is when they tried to get smart. Because they said you had choices. You had a choice, correct? And she said, yeah. She said, wasn't it true that Rob had a decision? Rob had choices and decisions too, correct? She said, is it true that he chose not to tell you that he had herpes? Correct. Is it true that he told is it true that he ignored you when you told him you didn't want to have sex? Correct. Is it true that he grabbed your head and made you suck his penis? Correct. So then Kenneth came back and redirected. And he said, and it was still your decision after he did all of that to go back to him and see him. Correct. And after he grabbed your head and had a gun, you still went back and seen him again. Correct. You went through. They said Kenneth asked you, even though you went through all this trouble of seeing him, you still went. Correct. You said you were told to ask Diana, and she said, she said they said you said you were told to ask Diana. She said, I didn't say that. And they said, no, that's the question that the government just asked you that you said correct to. And then they said, isn't it the fact that what Rob actually said, he did not tell her, you need to call me or you need to let Diana know where you at all times or whatever that bullshit was. He actually said that you need to check in with Diana so that we know where you are. She said, correct. At that point, we took a break. They said that the next witness that they were going to call was Kelly, no last name, Kelly only. So this witness was in person. She's from San Antonio. She's employed. She's a child care, married 29 years. Husband works for a school district and is a pastor, has 2 kids. If y'all haven't already guessed, this is Faith's mom. Faith was born June 20, 1997. She says she was familiar with R. Kelly. She said, no, I'm sorry. She said she was familiar with surviving R. Kelly. Yes. Faith appeared on there. Yes. Did you travel with her to NYC? She said yes, she traveled to be with her. She said she went to watch the premiere. It was evacuated. They went back to the hotel. At that point, she would show pictures of Cash Jones. They asked, when did you first meet? She said at the hotel after it was evacuated in the downstairs lobby. What convo did you have? She said she was coming out of the elevator. She said she was coming out of the elevator and she said, hello, Mrs. Kelly blank. But if I go back to my notes, Faith clearly says that the woman called her and talked to her on the phone. And they set up the meeting to meet at the Applebee's. She said they was coming off the elevator. Okay, so she said, I looked over at her and asked who she was. She proceeded to tell me who she was. She seen her, and then she said she seen her again at the Applebee's. She did not say that it was arranged for them to be at the Applebee's. She made it seem as though she seen her there. This is who told us that Summer Bunny was the friend that was with them at the Applebee's. Faith left that out. The mother actually told us that it was Summer that was with them. They said, remember Faith said that she was with a cousin. This was a female cousin. It was not a male cousin. And she referred to the other guy as a gentleman. And she said the gentleman was in a corner off to the left. And she could see his gun. Faith testified that the guy was standing there with Cash Jones, and he had his hand on his gun the entire time that they were speaking. Yet the mother says he was off to the left and she could just see his gun. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of the times, depending on what these guys are wearing, if they have a hoister on and depending on how big their gun is, you will see it, especially if they have an open jacket. And if they license to carry, what they hiding it for. So yeah, you is gonna see his gun, but to immediately take that as a threat just lets me know when you do bad things, just what you assume. Somebody's out to get you. So she says as she was headed to, and then this is as she was headed to the table. So technically, they wasn't even at their table. So the man wasn't even standing at the table, just standing there looking at him holding the gun. He was in the restaurant before they even walked in there, and they walked past him and seen the gun. So at this point, he could have been in there doing securing any damn body. Cash had told Faith that she had a file. Told her what it was, the file, and she handed her a phone. Faith said the file was pictures of her mugshot and some naked pictures. She said she handed Faith her phone. Faith looked at it and then told her she wasn't worried about none of that and gave her back her phone. They literally got on the stand right back to back. So I'm guessing she don't hear her testimony from wherever she was sitting at, because she got up there and literally said, I told y'all yesterday, it's the little things that matter. If you lie about the little shit, then you damn sure gonna lie about the big shit. They asked her about texts, and she was receiving some texts from a number that she didn't recognize. It wasn't saved in her phone. She said she does, and then the funny thing is that they've been questioned by the people who actually got them there. They've been questioned by the government, and they tripping up. They're not even being cross-examined yet. So then she says she doesn't recall the precise number. They started showing her an exhibit. I didn't write the exhibit number down, sorry you guys, but it was 3 pages of text from the number she didn't recognize. It was 2 people included in the text, and they were sent to Faith and her, but Faith had changed her phone number, so she wasn't receiving those texts. They came from January the 3rd, 2019, and they were from a 312 area code. They said later she provided the screenshots of the text to the lawyers. The federal agents traveled to Texas to take pictures of the text she received, and then she began looking at the documents and the photos from the 312 number. Images was also sent. Most of the text was threats that they would be seeking criminal charges against Faith if they didn't stop with the lawsuit. Then they were sent nude pics of Faith and some text behind that. At the end of the text, they said basically to be continued. She texted, "Who is this?" They responded, "Criminal charges to be followed." They wrote, "Publishing soon." And she figured they asked, "Who was this texting?" She said, "Who is this texting? Is this Cash?" And she said, "You stupid. If you were a real man, you would call and we could talk about this." Okay. Your daughter's sexually violated. She feeling all type of embarrassed. All of everything and above that she claimed. But you text this man and you say, because you think it's R. Kelly that's texting this, you say to him, "You could be a real man. You could call and we could talk about this." That's my child. What's there to talk about? There's nothing to talk about. And she says at that point, she was, even though she thought it might have been Cash sending a text message, she was referring to Rob. And then somebody texted back and said, "No, this is Colin. I'm an investigator. Investigation will be done soon enough." And then after that, she received a phone call because her next text read, they asked what happened in the phone call. She said she didn't recall. And she recalls him saying he was an investigator for Rob and wanted her to drop the case. They told her to pull the plug or you will be exposed. And they showed the exhibit actual image sent to her, followed with "to be continued." Okay, so my thing is, what they didn't say in court is if they actually found who was connected to that phone number, where it came from. If y'all know, like I know, they have all these different texting apps. So you can literally go on your phone. You can get you a 312-702-8108, whatever area code that you want. And you can literally sit there and text from your phone to your phone. So how do we know that she wasn't sending this app? She don't have an app, and she was actually sending these text messages to herself. Again, if you sitting up here texting somebody that's sitting damn near 30 feet from you, that you got to go to the bathroom, instead of just getting up and walking to him and say, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, you will do some shit like this. I ain't putting nothing past you. So then Kenneth started to cross-examine her. He said, you testified that you received a text from Colin, and it was an investigator for Rob. Did you actually know that? No. Is that just something someone told you? Yes. Have you ever spoke with Rob? She said no. And he said, you don't recall speaking to Rob. And then she said, oh, well, one day when me and Faith was walking through the mall, he actually FaceTimed her, and Faith turned the phone to her, and she was able to say hi. And that was it. But you just said that you never spoke to him. And then another thing, I'm going to ask this man, hey, you damn near my age. What you doing with my daughter? That ain't the only thing I'm finna say to him, like hi, like she actually showing me a boyfriend from school or some shit. You showing me a man that's old enough to be with me. I want to know what the hell is you texting? What y'all got going on? What's up? What's good? Those are the type of questions you going to ask. You're not just going to say hi. And you're a preacher's wife, and this is a preacher's daughter, and all you ask this 50-year-old man is, all you say to him is hi. Come on now. I swear. I promise you, this can't get no stupider. He asked, did you ever meet with the investigator? No. And do you know for a fact that that investigator even worked for Rob? No. But yet y'all in court linking this person that's texting y'all phone to Rob. Make that make sense. So then the prosecution declined to ask any other further questions. So then the next witness was, y'all prepare yourself. The next witness was Nathan Edmond. If y'all remember that name, Keith Williams had testified, and he mentioned the name Nathan Edmond. So in this, they asked him basically, do you want to testify? He said no. He's 73 years old, self-employed. He does real estate. In the other businesses, he first said no. And then they asked him, sir, are you a minister? He said yes, over 30 years. Licensed to officiate weddings, yes, since the 90s. His first wedding, if I'm talking too fast, I'm sorry. It's just because I'm almost done. They asked, he said not long after he got his license, he officiated his first wedding. They said, have you ever met R. Kelly? Yes. He said, how? He said, I performed his ceremony. Exhibit 803B. It was the marriage license and certificates. The marriage license, he stated, was from Illinois. Direct attention, they asked to direct the attention to the bottom of the license, and pretty much on the bottom of the license shows the witness's name, Nathan Edmond, as the ordained minister of gospel. Below it says, Robert S. Kelly and Aaliyah Halton was united in marriage by me at the address that was in Rosemont on August the 31st, 1994. It shows his signature, and it shows his address. It says, did you in fact officiate that wedding? He said, yes, I did. Did you meet him before? No. Did you know who you were marrying? No. When did you first meet them? He said, the day I married them. How did you come to know them? A friend of Rob's, a friend of mine, asked me to do a favor. That was Keith Williams. He said he didn't know whose wedding he was doing. Where did it take place? In a hotel, in a private room. It was an open area in a hotel where there's like a couch and some chairs or whatever. So he said they asked when you arrived who was there. He said Keith was there. Keith actually testified, didn't say that he was at that wedding. I've never heard him say that. And then there was 3 other gentlemen there. He didn't know who they was. He was asked to describe them. He said they was probably about 5'7", 5'10". I think he said they were African Americans. He says he was introduced. He was introduced to one of the gentlemen. I'm guessing that might have been Demetrius. He gave him the marriage. That person gave him the marriage license, and the minister says that it was official. He looked it over and saying that it was official, so he filled it in. And then he had to sign. He said they told him he had to sign a confidentiality agreement. He said when he looked at the confidentiality agreement, he chuckled. And then they asked him, well, why are you laughing? And he said, because if this is supposed to be a confidentiality agreement, it should have been a little bit more airtight than this. So the person said, well, do you give me your word you won't say anything? And he said, well, I will. And he said, but I didn't even know what I wasn't supposed to say anything about. So, and then he says, the guy said it didn't matter. And so the guy said, well, the contract don't even matter because you just gave me your word. He says, so are you ready to begin? And then he said at that point, Aaliyah and Rob came from a bedroom. They had on matching outfits. One of them, each one of them had on matching outfits, and on one leg was raised up to the knee on both of them. He said he couldn't really see all of Aaliyah's face because one part of her hair was covering the side of her eye. You know how Aaliyah would have swooped. Then he said he proceeded to perform their wedding. They exchanged vows. He pronounced them married. And he said it only lasted about 10 minutes or less. And then he told her, you can kiss your bride. He said they did kiss. And he said something. He said something else to the gentleman. And then he said, typically when you get married, after everyone signs the license and then you have a witness, the minister will take that license and he will send it in. So, okay, how many people watch Love and Hip Hop? If you watch Love and Hip Hop with Yandy and Mendeecees, Yandy and Mendeecees had this big ass extravagant wedding. All these people was invited. And then come to find out later on that they wasn't actually married because the license was not sent out. So he said that he will keep the license and that he will send it out. But the person that I'm guessing was Demetrius told him, no, that's okay. We good. We'll keep it. And he said after that, they offered him $25 to $50. But he said, no, I don't want it. I was doing this as a favor. That I'm good. And so they just basically showed Exhibit 89, which was just a picture of him. So I'm saying this to say, if he didn't send out the marriage license, then it's never official until it gets sent out. If Demetrius took that marriage license and never sent it out, technically, even though everybody's saying that they were married, there's a chance that they wasn't married because we have to first prove that that marriage license was sent out. Any questions, y'all? And again, that's my opinion. I don't know. They didn't say that, but that's what I thought about when Yandy did all that, and she was just like, hold up, I don't know if I want to send this out. You got too many responsibilities. I don't want that to fall on me. So technically that whole time, as a matter of fact, they actually finna air a new episode where they're gonna get married for real because it wasn't official. So, and that might be why so many people for so long didn't believe the marriage, and so many people were Googling so many different actual marriage licenses and why there were so many of them, because they were never actually filed. That's why you can Google them and find them, because they are fake marriage licenses. But that's my opinion. I don't know. We'll find out. And so basically he asked, have you been approached from the media about their marriage? He said, yes, constantly. He said this one particular radio station just keep calling his house, but he has never, ever spoken on the marriage. And so after that, there was no cross-examine. And then y'all there was just basically, his name was Tracy Montenegro. He worked at Apple. He's just a basic specialist. He just got on the stand and just testified as to when the Apple phones came out, when the iPads came out, when the first iPad came out that had a black front and back camera. That's basically it. I don't know if it helped. I didn't see the John Doe testimony, but I know a lot of people said that certain things happened in 2008 and he had an iPad. Well, this witness, who was a witness for the prosecution, testified that iPad second gen didn't come out to 2011. So I don't know if anybody know about that, but if he said 2008, then he's a liar because it didn't come out until 2011. They currently say. Then he just went on to talk about the difference between iMessages. When you texting somebody, yours come out in gray, the other person's come out in green, and that's why some is green and some is gray. So he just basically talked about that. After that, there was no further questions. There was no cross-exam. We ended it once the judge let the witness go and then sent the jury home. She just asked about what's the witnesses for tomorrow. They asked if they could approach. After they talked for maybe about 5 to 6 minutes, the judge came back and said, the government really don't know who they're going to call tomorrow and how many people they're going to call, but that they will be letting the defense know before court tomorrow. So, and then that was it, y'all. Hey, Sylvia, I'm done. Any questions? I'm feeling sick, y'all. My head and my throat is killing me.
Feel better. Great job, Dottie. Y'all give Dottie a hand. Woo! Great job, Dottie.
Thank you. Any questions? Hey, while y'all in the chat, can y'all tag TMZ? Can y'all tag
TMZ, y'all?
Tag anybody, any reporters. Remember, I told y'all, I challenge y'all to do that. Just start tagging people. We can sit here and talk about this shit all day, but if we don't get it out there, what really is it doing for anybody?
Remember, I got something to play.
Oh, yeah. I should have had you play that right after. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Go ahead.
I got something to play, y'all. Hold on. I do not own the rights to this, but here it is. This is just for commentary purposes. Black Beauty, put in my little comment, please. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Thank you.
Okay, so that's just a short clip of the audio that I'm about to let you listen to. Before I let you hear the entire audio, I want to make it abundantly clear to you all that I am not saying that Faith is lying, and I am in no way trying to victim shame her. I cannot confirm or deny any of the allegations that you will hear in this audio. All allegations in this audio are alleged. This is just an anonymous tip that was delivered to me. Also, I have already reached out to the Savage family to try to get a comment regarding this audio that you're about to hear. I spoke to Tim Savage's publicist, and he made it very clear to me that Tim will not be speaking to me. His publicist thanked me for reaching out to get a comment first. He said that he respected me for doing my due diligence, but unfortunately, his client, Tim Savage, cannot speak to me because there's an investigation going on, and he cannot make a comment that could possibly ruin the investigation. I then told him that I completely understand, and that he asked me when my video is coming out. I told him that my video was not coming out that day that we were speaking, but that it would be coming out soon. He told me to contact him if anything
Shout out to
changed,
Candace.
to update him about my video. He said thank you and goodbye. Now, of course, there was more to that conversation, which I did record.
Hold on, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit.
What happened?
Hold on.
I told you guys all of that just so you can send it to the source who sent it to identify who she and you what?
Daughter, I got 4 hours, and that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check her. You said about your family.
Also, at the end of the recording, please listen closely and you will actually hear Timothy Savage flirting with this woman, Cash Jones. Okay, let's get into this recording.
You ain't saying about your family. Whoever you getting your information from, they stupid in the motherfucker. You going off hearsay. But I got your number. Your shit, your ass is gonna be done. Real talk, because I don't fuck around when it comes to somebody calling doing death threats. No. That face needs to get her ass checked. And that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna check her motherfucking ass.
Okay, well.
I pulled her mama to the side. We was in that goddamn room. And I told her mom, I said, you need to check your daughter. I got 4 hours of motherfucking audio tape, video tape. You need to check that bitch and put her where she belongs. Cause her ass is like a loose cannon right now. Now people end up in boxes when they motherfucking ass like a loose cannon.
Okay, wait, calm down. I was waiting on the perfect time to interrupt because I can tell you're upset. No, it's okay. Well, I'm trying to get an understanding. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so Faith is just upset with Jalen. Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. I'm like, what the fuck is she upset with Jalen? Jalen don't even say nothing to nobody. Jalen don't even want to be a part of R. Kelly shit. To be honest with you, Jalen got some other shit going on. She don't even want to be a part of this shit. She could have been messing with Summer when Summer was saying all this shit about Offset. She could have easily done an interview with that shit. I told Jalen, leave that shit alone. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what I'm trying to understand is what is Summer to Faith? Because Kelly kept calling her sister.
Yeah, they've been growing up together since day one, from childbirth.
Also, this is just the type of shit they do. They just set celebrity. Well, I don't know. Because the Summer thing is.
You're right. You're saying the right thing. You're saying it right. They do this type of shit. All them mug shots and shit of Faith. Oh, yeah. I said, this bitch, she don't know the fuck she fuck with. I don't fuck with people unless they fuck with me. If you fuck with me, then we got a problem. I don't fuck with people like that.
Oh, God. Oh, God. I don't know what to say. I didn't expect this.
No, she messy than a motherfucker.
I can tell.
I don't go off of hearsay. If you call and threaten my daughter and I overhear the conversation, that's not hearsay. That's a motherfucking threat. And my daughter don't give a damn about what's going on with Faith and whatever. I could have been exposed that bitch, but I didn't.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't know.
Anything you got on that bitch, let me know. I'm gonna get that bitch. She done fucked with the wrong one. And I hope her motherfucking brothers and daddy come for me. I'm gonna blow their ass off too. I want them to do something. I'm gonna fuck them up just as well. I'm gonna bring the noise, motherfucker.
Oh, God. Okay.
I try to not get upset. But the motherfucker, I don't know who they be fucking with.
I get it. It's just sad. I don't know. Faith, I don't know.
Yeah, she all over the place. The mama can't control it.
Well, maybe she all over the place because she lying. When it comes down to Faith, I'm skeptical about Faith. I don't know.
Yeah, that bitch lying. I can let you listen to 4 hours of motherfucking tape. That bitch mama told her to go back and get some more motherfucking proof. I got that shit on motherfucking video and audio. I just trying to hold that shit because my daughter's in a situation. I got that bitch saying that on goddamn tape, video and audio. You can see her goddamn face saying this shit.
That's crazy as hell.
But I'm not messy like that. I just want my daughter out this shit. I don't want to get involved in that old dumb shit. That's between her and our kids. But when you start threatening my daughter, we got a whole nother motherfucking ball game. I'm not that nigga to be fucked with. And no, we can go to a professional level, or we can go to the hood level. Whatever way you want to take it, nigga. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I am. It's just like Drill Brother. He always did blah, blah, blah. Nigga, that nigga didn't do shit.
Yeah, he was killing me.
Yeah, I'm like, nigga, what? Get the fuck, step the fuck back, nigga. It's about my daughter. All these niggas feel about that y'all shit don't do shit. Niggas ain't about that life, man. I ain't gonna never bag up from a nigga. I ain't never ran from a nigga, period.
Oh, shit. Oh, it's too early. Okay. Well, I'll see what I can find.
Yeah, anything you can find on that bitch. I'm gonna fucking destroy that bitch.
I'll see what I can find. But let me take a shower because we got to get ready to check out soon, and then I gotta head to the airport. So I'm gonna call you back when I get out of the shower.
You can take a shower.
Yes, I gotta take a shower.
Maybe I need to stay on the phone.
I'm gonna call you as soon as I get out the shower. All right.
All right, y'all.
I'm on mute. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So he basically, we all heard him say he has 4 hours of what do you say? 4 hours of conversation on Faith. But then he said the mama said to go back in there and get some more proof or whatever. That just go right back to what I said. She was not saving all of those text messages for no reason. She making herself relevant in this case. She didn't think that they would go back. They can't speak on her sexual partners, but they can speak on on information that she gave to the detectives about her being tested positive for herpes in December of 2013. Didn't think that was going to come out. But also, I want to say, just keep in mind the one thing all of these girls, all of the Jane Does so far have testified to. They all lied about their age. They all used some type of fake ID, and they all said that they, except for the first one, had no real interest in R. Kelly. Yet they had no interest in him, but he still was able to make them do things that made them feel violated, embarrassed, or whatever. He was still able to do this, but they had no interest in this man in the beginning. That makes no sense. And then I was thinking, I know the defense hasn't started to call their witnesses and things, but I was speaking to someone at lunch, and I was like, it'd be nice for someone to just take a big poster board and just write down every key player that has anything to do with this case, and just be able to show the jury how each person is connected. There's not one person that's involved in this that don't know somebody else that's involved in this. How ironic is that? And that's just, I feel personally that that's something that the judge needs to see. Not the judge, but the jury should be able to see. We should be able to put every name and then outline how each person is connected.
All right. All right, guys. Thank you so much, Dottie. Another night of perfect information being brought over to us. Thank you so much.
I think Dom said to actually, you guys don't the people actually share the video, and when you share the video, tag them in the actual video.
Yeah, just share the video, y'all. Share the video. All right, good people.
Yeah, thank y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, Dottie. Thank you, and see you tomorrow for our next episode of what happened at the court on the 2021 R. Kelly trial. Shoot,
right.
We need to do these hashtags. All right, guys. Thank you. And we'll be back in about 10 minutes to start our reenactment. I
won't be back. I'm sorry, y'all, but I have to go to sleep. I got to be there early.
That's why you went first today.
Yeah.
All right.
But thank y'all.
Thank you, Dottie. Thank you, guys.
Right. Have a good night.
Tap her, please do so. She's done a lot, getting up early in the morning, getting out there on that line and bringing it to us. All right, guys. See you later. Bye, Dottie. All right, guys, I'm about to go and come back and we start our reenactment. I need all my players. Bye.